Hi, this is Sudarshan. Thanks all of you for joining our session today on the challenges for geocoding in Southeast Asia. With me is our head of data science, Shantanu Bhattacharya. Shantanu has led or pioneered our data science efforts and worked with us to make Locus a grand success in Southeast Asia. He is going to speak today about what does geocoding imply, what are the challenges that we'll face, and how we will then take it forward. I'm now going to hand it over to Shantanu and start the session.
Good evening. My name is Shantanu Bhattacharya. I'm leading the data science efforts at Locus. Currently, I would like to mainly in this particular discussion focus on why geocoding is important, how we are going about it, and why is it so critical that we get this right for the various offerings that we have. Uh, so my first effort would be to just give you a glimpse of what geocoding really involves and how we are going about it.
Would just like to confirm, are you folks able to hear us?
Okay. So let me know if my voice is not audible or something. So I would like to continue. Um, so geocoding is an address is basically an attempt to first of all find out what are the relevant parts of the address and to exactly specify what's the okay, cool. Sorry about that. So geocoding an address is basically just taking and understanding an address and trying to specify at what exact coordinates they are. The reason that is important is that for software to really do anything regarding location intelligence and to deliver any results, it works at the level of precise coordinates. Why people are much more comfortable with text, and that's why they are not used to writing numbers, they are just writing the addresses, and that's how the real world operates. And to bridge the gap is the process of geocoding, where we take an address and we tell the algorithm that this is the x comma y coordinate and go ahead and process it as the way you want. Now, the problem with that is that an address can be written in multiple various ways. As you can see in the slide, for example, there is a convention center in India, which somebody could say MLR Convention Center, Whitefield, Bangalore, or they could have just written MLR Whitefield, Bangalore, or Convention Center and then the Asandra Industrial Layout, Mahadevpura, Whitefield with the entire pin code. So all of them refer to the same exact coordinate, but they are written in various different ways. And it's very difficult for an algorithm to really understand all these different types of text and come up with the exact precise value on the map where this place is exactly located. Even the best attempts of writing a clean address can really be confusing depending on how it is written to the machine that is interpreting it. This is where the importance of geocoding algorithms come in. So we can think of a geocoding as a problem tree where there is a raw address and then you need to figure out two parts to it. One, whether the address is of the nature of a formatted address or descriptive. So let me explain. So in some countries like the United States or in many countries in Europe also, you exactly know what is the sort of address you are expecting. There is going to be a number, there is going to be a street name, and sometimes a zip code associated with it. So since that expectation is built in, these are called formatted addresses because you already know the format that you're going to work with. What is important to note here is also the fact that this format is also something that people follow. It might as well happen that in many countries the format exists, but if nobody is following that, then again it becomes rather useless. But say in most of the developed countries, people are used to this formatted address system, and it's much easier to do the geocoding because now you just need to be able to parse what you are expecting, and then you already know the associated lat long value with it. For a country like, say, India or many of the countries in Southeast Asia, what ends up happening is that there is no clear format that is always followed. What we end up doing here is we try to describe our location as well as we can, but in the process, while that is very useful for the end user who is a human, it is extremely difficult now for the machine to interpret because there is a lot more string that is now present in the address and they don't know where to focus on. That's one part of the problem. How do you parse the address? The second part of the problem is, even if you could parse it, do you know where it is? Like, what is the information associated with it?
So, any of you have any questions so far on what Shantanu has explained? Anything that is unclear or anything which has struck you quickly? You can share it on the screen. There is a questions tab here where you can quickly share your answer and question, and we will try to answer that.
Okay, should I proceed? So there are no questions. So now that we have understood the geocoding problem T, so you can see that now we have, to summarize, we have two problems. One, to correctly figure out from the address exactly which location is being talked about, and second, to make sure that we do have the actual lat long associated with that place available with us. Now, what ends up happening, and this has been a question ever since we have joined back in the company, is that Google already provides this service. Why can't we just query Google and be done with this? Now, very honestly, when I was starting with this project, I had this question. But there are some very good reasons why sometimes the geocoding that is offered by Google goes wrong or it gets mistaken. One of the problems, and I will tell you some of the problems, and that will make our discussion more relevant to the challenges in other countries, is that one of the problems that we face is the useless token problem. If people just wrote exactly how all the things that are relevant to the address and nothing else, then it would be easy to be able to geocode that part. But the problem is that many a times these addresses get very obfuscated because of the presence of, say, unnecessary information, or rather information that is not relevant to pinpoint the role location. This address that I'm showing on the screen, like this is a place in India, Prestige Shanti Niketan. If the same address is written with floor 9, Prestige Shanti Niketan, 11th tower, and all the relevant parts, now for a person delivering to this particular location, it may be very useful. But the problem is now Google does not know whether it needs to really focus on the floor 9 part, is the 11th tower. So this is more information that it needs to parse and interpret. The problem with that whole scenario is that it makes the whole geocoding effort much more complicated for Google, and then it resorts to heuristics. Since it does not have an expectation built into the system, it goes with what is most likely correct. Also, many a times what happens is that it will probably just bias its answers towards a more possible what is called a commercial answer, which might be more relevant and more people are inquiring for, as compared to, say, residential answers, which sometimes is what the person who is ordering or making the purchase is really looking forward to. So that's one problem, like basically addresses that are written in an extremely complicated way and have a lot of useless information stored in them. Second is the pin codes, and in many countries that's they call it as zip codes. Even till today, what happens is that many of the parsing, the initial segregation at the warehouse level is done at the pin code level, or at best at the locality level. And the problem with the pin codes is that most people just get their pin code wrong. It's a number and it's very easy to get one of the digits wrong. And what that means is that for the e-commerce company, or who is, say, for example, any other food delivery company, if it's initially parsing it based on the pin codes, it will just go to the wrong pin code and it will get misrouted right at the source. So and nobody, and it will be extremely, it's not like you can get close and then ask your way to the right answer. It will just go to an entirely different hub, an entirely different team would be handling this. This process can get extremely expensive. um, then there is the problem of the landmarks being extremely local in nature. People try to describe their address, but what ends up happening is that they are using a landmark which only very few people will be aware of. Say they just say that near a certain hospital, but maybe that hospital is so new that it's not part of many of the international databases yet. Many people are not aware of that. That will then again be a very confusing geocoding effort. And then there is always the abuse of the free text field. If you just ask people to write their address and provide a free text rather than something which is smarter, the problem is that people will give all the additional information in there. For example, they will write the address, but then they will also give a whole lot of instructions that they might find relevant. For example, do not come before 10 a.m., leave the courier outside the door, even things like that. And essentially, when you give free text, you're just opening yourself up to all these texts that has got nothing to do with the address. In the international context, the challenges are even more. So if you're making a geocoding engine, one of the problems is here, at least the expectation is the English language, so you can check whether how confident you can be with the address that you are looking at or the answers you are providing, and also to come up with a logic and iterate very quickly. But say if it's a different language altogether, to find whether what the local context was for the address just gets very difficult, because now the geocoder cannot just use a standard NLP package for a particular language, but it will have to develop its own language intelligence. If you have a different script, then that makes the problem even much harder. For example, in the case of Thailand, the script itself is different, and now we cannot do any level of, say, character matching or text matching to see if the answer that was asked for is anywhere close to the sort of answer we are returning back. The conversion between the script we are dealing with versus the standard, say, Roman script or something else, makes the challenge much more difficult. This is something that happens particularly in the case of, say, Thailand, where the script is very difficult. It's not just a different accent, but the whole script is different. And then there is the case of local databases not being available. For example, say if we have a lot of information in India, we can start building also our own internal databases, and Locus has already built a very good database for India and, say, much of the subcontinent, just because of the sheer volume of addresses that we are dealing with. But say if we go to a new country, we are still reliant over time, say, to develop this database, and the problem with that is that that takes time, and it may be completely unavailable to begin with. Many locations may not have, maybe just be part of local information, and it's only over time and after having made many successful deliveries that we will be able to get this. This brings us to the process of learning that we have, proprietary learning algorithm that we have developed at Locus, and how it speeds up that effort, which I will talk about in a while. The final problem is, of course, the misspelled and ambiguous tokens, which is like people just get the spelling mistake. And the problematic part is that these spelling mistakes might end up resulting in sort of addresses that actually sound like a different address. This problem is, of course, in almost same in almost all parts of the world. And to be able to just understand the spelling mistake and still be able to go to the right address is something that we strive for and have been able to successfully deal with a lot in the recent past. Landmark problem I have also dealt with. So in summary, what I'm trying to suggest here is that the NLP that we usually, natural language processing, that we think about for dealing with normal text is a hard enough problem because of the context involved, because of the script, because of the language, but it becomes much harder if we are doing it for addresses, because addresses don't even have a sense of grammar. The information could be all over the place. There is no specific format. And then the location and scripts makes it much more difficult. Also, NLP is just trying to make the sense of what is written. We are trying to not only get the sense, but also arrive and interpret at a precise lat long which can be derived from that sense or which is linked to that sense. Okay. So now let me delve a bit more on how we are specifically solving these problems for our partners in the other countries. Let me take the specific case of Thailand right now, which is one of the hardest challenges for pretty much anywhere. Even Google is struggling a lot to give good answer or good geocoding in Thailand. The way we do it is that there are two parts to it. One is when we haven't had enough delivery made on our portal or app. In that case, we have just built our own script conversion system, which transliterates from the Thai script to the English script. It's an engine which we have to make specifically for Thailand because even the Google's transliteration API does not work very well and it has been deprecated. But on top of that, what we have done is we have built our own region determination algorithms, which figures out which particular regions to the smallest granularity these addresses belong to, and then make our search restricted to that region, and then basically figure out the specific place that it needs to be delivered to. One particular important thing I need to point out is that many geocoding engines, what they end up doing is if they are not confident of the right answer, they just return a null, which basically is not helpful for anything. We, on the other hand, make the distinction whether sometimes the client is good enough that if your address is within 2 to 300 meters or where it should be, it is good enough for us. So these are the considerations that our geocoder takes into account, that, okay, we may not always know the precise answer, but if we are very close, is that good enough for our client? And that is something that is configurable. So if somebody is say good enough that, okay, just get me to the locality or just within this particular radius of the actual place, and that's good enough, we will be able to provide that answer where many other engines might actually fail. So this buffer is something that we can configure. One of the challenges that we also find, say, in a country like Vietnam, would be that many times the same small localities are repeated, or street names are repeatedly used in localities. Now, that is one problem that needs to be solved by just getting a more robust engine that can identify which particular region is getting specifically talked about. And the reason that is important is otherwise it will lead to a lot of misrouting and cost a lot of money, as I have previously mentioned. Now, how are we basically modify? How is this relevant to say something like that? Considering the traffic flow and other data. Now, what happens is that if you are not going to get the geocoding right, or once you get the geocoding right, let me explain it this way, then you can very well determine based on the traffic flow that what is the particular traffic that needs to be used or routed to for the in the particular case or location that you are going for. Even the slightest deviation in the particular geocode, what ends up happening is that there is definitely a better route that can be taken, entirely different, but that's the choice that we can make only if we are in the ballpark of the location that we need to arrive at. Now, for say something like an FMCG, for an FMCG company, this is extremely important to get this right, because the cost of, as I've been mentioning before, the cost of not being able to make the delivery, or for that matter, even taking a much longer time to deliver as was agreed on, is extremely expensive for the client. But that's not the only problem. It's also the number of deliveries that you can end up making that gets impacted. Because if a person is spending too much time, say, not getting the geocoding right and looking around for that place, then his efficiency goes down a lot. If you have a proper geocoding and that's something that you can rely on, then what you can do is your routing that is dependent on that geocoding is going to be much more accurate. And you can then ends up translating into far more deliveries getting made on a particular day as compared to what they would have done without the locations being correct. What we are also able to do is that sometimes in a country like say Indonesia, there are extremely large highways or flyovers beyond which say the zones are demarcated. Delivery will be only be made by one person on the say one side of the highway, while the delivery will be made by another person on the other side. What ends up happening if you use Google or many of the other geocoding providers is that even they might be like within 2 to 300 meters of the actual place, but they don't take into account the fact that this error needs to not occur across highways or across major route restrictions or deviations. We do take that into account. What we strive to do is we want to make sure that at least the zone to which this geocode needs to belong to is correct, and if the package does not go to another person who is not supposed to handle it at all. This is handled by one of our product offerings called IntelliSort, which is directly related to our geocoding efficiency. So these sort of considerations on top of the geocoding are already built into the system, and one can also specify further that listen, what we want is that the geocode needs to be within this much accuracy. It should not be crossing these route restrictions. It should not. It should only be taking into account, say, the residential areas, the official office areas should need to be separated. So these are all handled by an intelligence on top of once we have found out our correct geocode. This is the business impact that we have put in on top of that geocoding, that we need to move the final location in a way that it goes to the right person. Because without the final business context being taken into account, just the lat-long by itself is not very relevant. Um, so yeah, are there any questions that I may answer at this point? Because you have covered a lot of things so far.
So I think based on what Shantanu has said so far, do any of you have any doubts on how the geocoding problem itself is solved? What are the unique contextual aspects in the different geographies like Thailand, Indonesia, and others, and how this addresses some of the challenges which is faced by clients today? So, do any of you have questions based on your interactions with clients, your experiences with different service providers or companies? Anything you would like to ask here, which Shantanu and I can help address? Hello, are you folks able to hear us? So, if you look at the different points that have been raised, the first thing starts with how the geocoding problem tree itself works. Is that clear to you? Do you have any questions on how we come up with this? Questions either about the NLP algorithms or how the context is determined? Do any of you have any doubts or concerns about it? So, Mr. Kurniadi, you mentioned that what is the locus reference for the Indonesian address? As far as you are aware, we don't have a standardized address format.
Yeah. So what our understanding is that we do understand that in Indonesia, again, the specific number is important, the road and the bylane. So what we do is we parse for the road number and the road street name that is possible, and then there is the locality, sub-locality, and the city. So once we know the Jalan and the gang, which is what is mostly referred to in Indonesia, once we have find that, and once we know that what is the particular number on the street that is available, this is the format that we are looking for to finally make a call to our database or an external database to zero in on the exact location.
Mr. Kunyadi, does that answer your question, or would you want to add to the question some additional clarification that you require? Okay, so your next point was, does your geocoding differentiate a car road versus a motorcycle road?
Uh, okay, so that's a good question. There is no good way to really differentiate, but sometimes this is where our learning kicks in. What we are usually aware of is that all the roads which have been taken, say, by motorbikes that have been used by our partners, so we definitely know motorbikes are allowed there. Many a times the vehicle distinction is not there, but say if consistently there is a route that is not taken by any of our heavier vehicles, but we know for sure that bikes have taken that route consistently. What we do is those routes get additionally added to our database so that we can use them for our routing the next time.
So, since I do have a couple of partners from Thailand here, did you understand what Shantanu was speaking about the efforts taken for geocoding in Thailand? Specifically, one about the additional layer in terms of transliteration and in terms of understanding the context. Do you have any questions about it, Chris?
So the one thing about Thailand, if I may add from my side, that is relevant is that it is also reliant on the streets part, is what our understanding is. The problem is interpreting the text well. Otherwise, it's a fairly the structure is fairly obvious to us. Um, but the two things that are relevant is that we can quickly build our database relevantly because there's a lot of landmark information given and the streets and are mentioned. The biggest challenge is though not making a mistake, understanding and transliterating from the Thai script, because even a small mistake can end us with an address, can give us an address that does not make sense and we will be way off. So the errors could be high, and that's why our most effort is in making sure that the context from the address is passed correctly. So regarding Philippines, that's a very interesting case. There are two things that we have found at least so far, and that we are working on that I can talk about. One thing is that if I understand it right, there are this barangay information. If I am speaking that correctly, once we are within the correct barangay, what we do is that we are able to get the street names mostly correctly, but what you are talking about, that what the interior roads which are not appearing on the other streets, is again something that is part of that we are learning from our executed data. For example, there is a particular route that we suggested. It just so happened that up to a point where the route was suggested, we couldn't route anymore because there was no internal street known. But we do know from the delivery that was made that there was a path taken that was initially unknown to us. What happens is, just like we learn about location, we keep learning about these paths with enough occurrence. While we cannot create a DB out of them because we don't know the names of these streets, what we do is we try to either match them that, hey, query back, is this street existing? It's just that it's not part of any DB. And if not, then we start providing our own names and numbers to them so that at least while we are routing, we can include them back in our logic. It doesn't work always very efficiently, but it is still much better than not knowing about them.
So, Ramon, one of the clear differentiating aspects for our solution is the machine learning capability, which allows us to address scenarios where there is no official data available. So, this could be about roads. This could be about, as Mr. Punyani mentioned earlier, whether it's a motorcycle road or a regular road. It could even be about traffic breakdowns and other challenges which we face. So, for example, if we see a regular incidence of traffic congestion in a particular area, that is also taken back into our considering and used to understand how we can improve our routing. So I understand that both the Philippines and Indonesia are two places where traffic is a severe challenge. And that's where this again comes into play, because from a geocoding perspective, the right route can save a lot of time and effort for the customers. So, do any of you have any other questions so far on what has been discussed?
One of the things I would like to mention is this is slightly probably unrelated to the geocoding, as somewhat related, is that once we have built an entire tree of how the traffic flows between the various locations, what we can do is that over time we can also learn the variations, say of every few months, that how the traffic patterns have changed. It's not, we cannot use a standard formula for this. What we need to do is there is a consistent learning as that between say any of these 2 points, what's the expected arrival time, what's the ETA. Now the problem with that usually that happens is that you need to consistently get a lot of data, but the other problem is that if your geocoding is off, you could totally end up learning this traffic model entirely wrong. Um, which is why you need to be very, very precise with your geocoding accuracy, because from there on, you're trying to learn how the traffic between, say, any 2 points or, say, broadly small regions are developing or changing over time. Well, that's an information you need so that you can be far better at your ETA predictions when you are building the routing plan for your end users or the customers. So this is how the geocoding part ties into the traffic model and further to better predictions of ETAs. So that's something I thought I would just add.
So, based on what we've discussed so far, I hope you got a better understanding of how geocoding helps our clients understand where to deliver, how to deliver, and how to reduce the time and cost of it. So if we look at a sector by sector basis, starting from FMCG, like Shantanu was saying earlier, the incremental cost, either in terms of a failed delivery or an additional delivery time or distance, is a significant factor. Similarly, if we look at e-commerce companies like a Lazada, a Shopee, or a Bukalapak, for them, controlling the cost and ensuring that deliveries happen as per SLAs are critical parameters. And that's where the geocoding is crucial for them to know where to deliver and how quickly to deliver. So these so if we look at Locus as a platform, one of our core legs on which the entire system stands is our geocoding capability. And this is why we are differentiated from the likes of Google, Waze, Here Maps, and others. Because while all of those mine data, keep it and provide it. They are looking at it from a consumer facing perspective, whereas we are looking at it from an enterprise perspective, which means keeping in mind routing quality, location address quality, and most importantly, understanding the business impact of where the location should be are aspects that are not considered by other companies in this space. Do any of you have any questions on, say, what I'm talking about or what we have discussed? Because I know some of you have reached out to me in the past asking, why not use Waze, or why not use, say, other platforms which are available? But a Waze or Google would not keep in mind the business context that's applicable. So based on your understanding, can you think of business use cases where geocoding has been a challenge? And you can share that with us if you want. So can you hear me now? So would anyone have any doubts or thoughts about what we've discussed? If you would like a more technical understanding of how this works, Shantanu can probably help there. If there is something more on the business part of it, if you have any specific questions, feel free to ask. The objective of this session was to help all of you get an understanding of geocoding, why it's important to Locus, why it's important to our clients and the sectors we work in. I hope that all of you have got a fair understanding of these 3 points now. If you have any questions or doubts, please feel free to reach out so that we can address those right away. Yes, we will be sharing this presentation after this session gets over. And if you have any specific questions, you can reach out to Shantanu and me, and we'd be more than happy to answer them. So are there any other questions that you have? Maybe it could be slightly connected to geocoding, but you're unsure. You can share those with us as well, and we'll try to answer them if you have it. Perfect. So at this point, I'll take then that this session has helped all of you get an understanding on why geocoding is relevant and what are the challenges we face in these geographies. We will be sharing this presentation with you, and I'll loop Shantanu on the email, so that if any of you have any specific questions on the geocoding aspect, you can address them. We will have another session next month, which will be on a different topic, which I will reach out to you and understand. Please share your feedback on the session. If you feel something could be improved, something needs to be changed, please share that with us. And if anything else is required, feel free to reach out to me. Thanks all of you for your time. I understand that I've taken up some of your time on a Tuesday afternoon, and it's towards the end of the day for most of you, but thanks a lot for sparing this time for this session.